Mom, thank you for buying me a new backpack.
Oh, honey, of course. You're welcome.
Do you think I'll make a lot of friends?
I'm sure you will. You're a positive girl, Haruka, and you make everyone around you smile.
Really?
Yeah.
I promise to help you a lot too, Mommy.
What?
Aren't you busy with work and stuff? You're always working so hard.
Don't worry about me. It's just what I have to do so that we can both live.
But lately you've been studying a lot, Mommy.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you worry.
I know I can't cook yet, but I can help you fold the laundry and I can clean too.
Haruka, thank you so much, honey. It's enough just to hear you say that. It makes Mommy very happy.
You don't have to work tomorrow, right?
Yep, that's right. It's Saturday tomorrow.
Well, then I'll give you a shoulder massage so that all of your tiredness goes flying away.
Aw, you're going to do that for me?
Laurie from the Peach class says she does it all the time for her mom and dad. All right, Mom, sit on the couch.
Okay then, can't wait.
Miss Customer, how is this massage? Is it strong enough?
It feels great, thank you.
I'm glad.
My name is Natsumi Tomita. I recently turned 30 years old and I'm a single mother of one daughter. My husband passed away due to an illness before my daughter Haruka was born. And after I gave birth, I've been living with my daughter and my parents while being supported by them along the way. 5 years ago, I switched over from working part-time jobs to a full-time office job, and I've been working really hard. My salary gradually increased, and I was finally able to move into my own apartment. My daughter and I were starting her new chapter living together in our own home. Haruka just started preschool and was making a lot of friends, and it seemed like she was really enjoying herself. Seeing my daughter smile always made any stress or tiredness disappear. That's right. You know how it's almost Grandpa's birthday?
Papa's?
That's right. I want to get him a present from us as a surprise. What do you think we should get for him?
Oh, I know. Let's bake him a cake together.
I see. Great idea.
Papa loves sweet things, and he especially loves cake that has a lot of strawberries on it. Nana told me that last time.
Now that I think about it, I remember one of my dad's favorite foods was strawberries.
What do you think?
I think that's perfect.
Isn't it?
Now that we've decided, should we look for a recipe online? And we need to go buy the ingredients.
I really hope he likes it.
He'll probably be so happy that he'll cry. After all, you're Papa's favorite.
I'm going to make the best cake ever.
On the day of my father's birthday, my daughter and I worked together to bake him a strawberry cake. Since I can't let a 6-year-old child hold a knife, it was my job to cut the strawberries. I let Haruka do the whipped cream decorations. Just as I expected, my father was ecstatic about the cake, taking each bite with tears streaming down his face. My mom cooked her delicious signature dishes that we devoured in no time. And perhaps she was exhausted from her first time making a cake, but Haruka fell straight asleep on the couch. We decided to stay at my parents' house that night, and I fell asleep next to her.
Miss Tomita, there was a deficiency in this paperwork here.
What? I'm so sorry. Was there a mistake somewhere?
What do you mean, what? How many times do I have to tell you for you to remember?
I'm very sorry.
Miss Tomita, do you know how long it's been since you've been working at our company?
This will be my 5th year.
You're not even a new hire, and you still can't do your job properly. Don't you think that's embarrassing?
That's not true. When it comes to creating the paperwork or other administrative tasks, I handle it with the utmost care. And before I send it off to the other departments, I make sure to have it double-checked by my colleagues or my manager, and
I don't need your excuses. This is pathetic for a 30-year-old.
Yes, ma'am.
I have to cover for every single one of your mistakes, every time.
Yes, I understand.
You don't have any gratitude for that?
Yes, of course I do. I'm aware that I'm always being helped by you, Miss Akamoto.
Well then, if that's the case, then you need to learn to be able to do your job without my help.
I was so sure that this paperwork didn't have any mistakes. This woman is Meiko Akamoto. She is our division manager and my boss, and I report directly to her. I guess you could say that she's quite the career woman. Ever since I changed jobs, I had been kindly trained by my former boss and the person who used to be in her position, but ever since the company restructure, she had become my direct superior. For some reason, she didn't seem to like me and was always harassing me about my work.
Oh, that's right, Miss Tomita.
Yes, how can I help?
You have a kid, right?
Yes, I have one daughter.
Interesting.
Miss Akamoto?
Miss Tomita, just because you have a child doesn't mean you can make any excuses. Please don't try to take the upper hand just because of that.
What?
It's true that our company is very forgiving of women who are raising kids.
Yes, I agree. Our boss has been very understanding of my situation, and for that, I'm very grateful.
Ah!
Huh? Did she just roll her eyes?
And your husband? What about your husband?
My husband? He passed away before my daughter was born.
Oh, why?
He developed cancer in his liver and...
Oh, well, is that so? Must be tough. So I guess that means you're a single mother now.
My parents have been helping us, and my daughter and I are doing our best together. What's so funny?
I feel so bad for your daughter, too, growing up without knowing the love of a father.
Huh?
Plus, most single mothers are indecent and trashy. I bet you just leave her at home alone all the time and go out at night, don't you?
That's enough!
Excuse you?
I don't really care how much you say about me, but I won't let you talk about my daughter or my family like that.
Yeah, all right. Apologies.
With all due respect, I looked over the paperwork once again, and there are no mistakes in it. While you had stepped away from your desk, I had my manager double-check it once again.
Ah!
When it comes to directions concerning work, I am prepared to follow mostly everything that you say. However, I don't think that it's acceptable for you to talk about my personal life, and I don't think it's right for you to make unreasonable demands just to bring me down.
How dare you! You do know that you're beneath me and also younger than me, too.
I have a meeting with the sales manager starting soon, so I'll be leaving my desk now.
Hey, stop right there!
Now if you'll excuse me. Miss Akamoto was truly the worst kind of boss. When she found out that I was a single mother, with every chance that she could get, she would look down on me. On top of that, she would say things like, "I feel so bad for your husband," or "a plague-inducing sexist tramp," and constantly throw insults at me. My company was actually an unbelievably good workplace, but because of her, I was losing my mind. The reason I was unknowingly sighing so much in front of my daughter was also because of this woman.
Great work today, Miss Tomita.
Oh, hey there, Mr. Shibusawa.
How rare. You're having a lunchbox today?
I had leftovers from dinner last night, so I just randomly threw it all together for lunch.
You usually eat in the employee cafeteria, so I was wondering if something might have happened to you.
Oh, it's nothing. I just made too much of my daughter's favorite food.
How is your daughter these days? She doing all right?
Yes, she's as energetic as ever. The other day, I bought her backpack in preparation for her first year of elementary school next year. She was so excited she was jumping all over the house.
Well, that's good to hear.
By the way, don't you normally go to the employee cafeteria as well?
I thought it might be okay to treat myself to a sweet piece of bread from the convenience store every now and then.
Those are delicious, aren't they? My favorite is the chocolate chip melon bread.
I wanted to ask you, are you okay?
What?
I saw you this morning getting yelled at by Miss Akamoto.
Oh, that. Yes, everything is fine. It happens all the time anyway.
It's actually not fine at all.
I agree.
I'm sorry I wasn't able to help you. I had a phone call come in from a client, and I was running around after that, and...
Oh, please don't apologize. This isn't anything that you should be worrying about. And I know how busy you are with your own work too.
No matter how you look at it, I really think that her behavior is unacceptable.
Well, yeah.
You know, she's probably just jealous of you.
You think so?
I heard a rumor that the man she was going to marry left her, and that she had also wanted kids.
Is that the reason why she's always barking at me?
That old lady will be turning 35 this year. She's probably just panicking because she's approaching 40 soon.
It's probably not something we should be joking about.
That woman has always been cold towards women with children, or people who are happily married.
I see. Well, thank you for letting me know. I'll be more careful around her.
Don't worry, all of the employees in our department are on your side.
That's really nice of you to say. I'm happy to hear it.
If anything happens, you can always come talk to me or our manager. There are a lot of people around you who support you. You have great reviews from all of our clients too. So you should be more confident in yourself.
Thank you very much. Naoshi Shibusawa was my kind of senior colleague who was always looking out for me. Because he is always encouraging me, I've been able to approach my work more positively. After the lunch break, I got back to work and ignored Miss Akamoto's continued harassment. Perhaps she realized and got mad because after that, she was even more irritated than before. Everyone around the office did their best to tiptoe around her. And then the day at the office finally ended. I left work behind me and was headed to go pick up my daughter at her preschool.
Miss Tomita, it's a phone call for you.
Who is it from?
It's your mother. She says it's an emergency.
What?
You should really take the phone. She sounded like she was really panicking.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Mr. Shibusawa. Hello, Mom. It's rare for you to call me at the office. What's wrong?
It's a disaster!
What do you mean?
It's Haru.
Haruka, did something happen to her?
Today is the picnic day event at the preschool, right?
Yes, I prepped everything last night and woke up early to pack her lunchbox.
A few of the teachers were looking after the kids as they walked in single file to the picnic spot, but apparently a car came rushing through and...
What?
Haruka and her friend Mario were right in that spot and...
No, this can't be real. The teacher said she called an ambulance immediately, and they were taken to the nearest hospital. That's when the preschool called me. What about Haruka? Is she alive? Is she okay? Natsume, you need to calm down. As her mother, you need to be the most level-headed. Yes, you're right. I'm sorry. Anyway, can you leave work early today and come here? Yes, I'm going right away. Luckily, this hospital has a famous doctor, and the surgery should go well. Yeah. I'm sure Haru is fighting and doing her best in that surgery room. We need to go be there for her. To the sudden devastating news, I couldn't hide my worry. It felt like someone had dropped a boulder on my head, and I stood frozen in disbelief for a few seconds. Mr. Shibusawa tapped me on the shoulder, and I came back to reality.
I heard what happened through the phone. Your daughter was in an accident, right?
Yes. Apparently she was hit by a car.
This is urgent and your #1 priority right now. You should punch out on your time card immediately and go!
Are you sure?
Your family's life is far more important than work. You can leave the rest to me. Now go!
I'm so sorry that you have to deal with this for me.
Don't worry, I'll let our manager know what happened.
Thank you so much, truly. All right then.
Absolutely not!
Miss Akamoto.
Miss Tomita, don't you have an urgent project to finish? Did you complete the quotation and the paperwork to show for the work your business?
It's almost finished.
Well then, shouldn't that be your priority right now? Isn't it your duty to ensure it gets finished?
But I just got a call from my mother. My daughter has been in an accident and she was carried in an ambulance to the hospital.
And? What does that have anything to do with work?
What do you mean?
Listen, if you don't work, you can't earn your salary, right? Which means that your child can't survive unless you work. Do you understand?
Yes, I can understand your opinion, Miss Akamoto. However, this is not the time when my daughter is in such critical situation.
We've just gotten into our busy season, and everyone is working extremely hard. And you think you can just leave your work behind and be forgiven?
Miss Sakamoto?
What, Shibusawa?
I will take over what's left of Miss Tomita's work, so please, let her go to the hospital.
Mr. Shibusawa.
Oh, well, what are you, her knight in shining armor?
No, that's not the case at all. But you're basically telling us to ignore the fact that her family is in grave danger, which I can't do.
Ah!
Luckily, the deadline for my work is still pretty far ahead, so I can help her.
How boring.
Excuse me?
Why is everyone favoriting Miss Tomita?
What are you saying, Miss Akamoto?
I am the division manager, and you all need to follow my orders, period.
I really don't have time for this.
Your child or your work? What's more important? Do you not have any common sense in that small brain of yours?
You can ignore whatever she's saying. Now go be with your daughter.
Thank you. Truly, thank you so much. I left the rest of the project open in the file. Thank you again for taking care of it. I sped to the hospital while of course obeying all traffic laws and somehow made it to MoniRobo Hospital. Just as I arrived, the doctor came out of the surgery room and said that my daughter's life was saved. I was so overcome with relief that I passed out on the spot. And when I woke up the next day, I was in a hospital room. They said I must have had a lot of built-up stress and exhaustion, and they had placed an IV in me. My daughter was going to have to stay in the hospital for some time, so I was forced to take a few days off from work as I went back and forth from the hospital to my house. 1 week later, when I was finally able to catch my breath at home, I got a message on my Messenger app.
Hey there, Miss Childbearing Incompetent Employee. Well, was your little baby girl okay? LOL.
Yes, she's fine. Although I was told that her recovery is going to take a few months.
I see. I guess this is what they call happiness and misfortune. Good for you.
Miss Akamoto, why are you messaging me?
Oh, I just had some news for you. That I was thinking it was about time we fire you.
What?
I really have no use for an employee who doesn't take their work seriously.
How can you decide something like that? That's not in your control. I've even gotten permission from my manager about my days off right now.
Oh, did you think that using your manager was going to scare me?
You're not part of the HR department, so I don't think you have any right to make me quit or to fire me.
How impertinent of you!
I'm planning on returning to work next week, so I'll be showing up at the office as usual.
I'll never forgive you.
What?
You must be so happy with Shibusawa all over you at work too.
No, you have it all wrong. Mr. Shibusawa and I are just work colleagues. We work in the same department, and that's it.
Is that so? Pretty sure you were just playing the damsel in distress so that you could score a guy. You're awful. You can say whatever you'd like. You can object or throw whatever jabs you want at me, and it won't even itch, much less hurt.
Fine then. I understand. I will do as you say, and I quit my job.
Look at you, suddenly becoming so sincere.
You've been harassing me and making my life hell in the office for some time now, and after this incident, I've reached my limit.
If you're going to submit your own resignation, then it's a true dream come true for me.
Next week, I'll submit my formal resignation to my manager, and I'll make it so that I resign from my job by the end of this month.
Well, thanks for acting so swiftly this time.
Thank you for everything until now. I have plans to go to the hospital early tomorrow, so I'll be signing off now. At the beginning of a new week, I went to the office and went straight to my manager's office to submit my resignation. He was pretty shocked, but I had the reason that I also wanted to be by my daughter's side during her recovery, and it was decided that I would be finished by the end of the month. That being said, I could never let Miss Akamoto get away with this. All of her immature behavior, including the proof that I had in the messages she sent me, I showed it all to my manager. After that, I didn't run into any further trouble, and the rest of the month flew by. My colleagues held a leaving party for me, and I resigned. I felt guilty that I would be relying on my parents once again, but in order for Haruka to recover even one day sooner, I decided to put my all into my daughter. A few weeks later. Hello, this is Natsumi Tomita.
Please come back.
Sorry, who is this?
It's me, Mako Akamoto.
Oh, it's you, Miss Akamoto. Thanks for attending my leaving party a few weeks ago.
Please stop wasting my time.
I had blocked you on the messenger app, but I guess I had forgotten to block your phone number. Well then, goodbye.
Wait, at least listen to what I have to say.
I'm no longer an employee, so I have nothing to say in regards to work.
Come on, don't be so mean, right? It seems like you were favored by a lot of our clients.
That's one way to put it, I guess.
After taking over your work, I called the rookie business to talk to them about a very big contract. But then they said they won't sign a contract unless it's with you, freaking Miss Natsumi Tomita.
Oh, is that so?
When I asked them why, they said she was the most reliable and always put in the extra effort and worked hard for us. Even though we faced many problems, she did her best to solve them all for us graciously. And that's why we were working with your company, or something like that.
Wow. I didn't know that the rookie business team felt that way about me.
So of course, I asked them, why can't they just work with me? And then they said, we don't want to work with a self-centered type like you. It's too difficult, or some crap like that.
They were pretty direct with you, weren't they?
Rookie business is one of our biggest clients, and it's your fault they've canceled their contract with us. So what are you going to do about it?
Well, that's not my fault at all, nor is it my problem anymore.
I asked my team to do work, and they're also cold to me, and our boss is furious and always glaring at me with fire in his eyes.
Could it be because of your attitude towards your employee in particular, the male ones?
Huh?
Even after I quit my job, I had stayed in touch with my manager and with Mr. Shibusawa, and had continued to hear stories about Miss Akamoto. In order to collect enough evidence, they had been waiting to bring it forth to her. The fact that she was calling me must have meant that they were finally ready. You know, before I resigned, I told my manager everything, including the harassment I had endured from you and all of the horrible things you said to me.
What did you just say?
You always took your work very seriously and always knew how to play nice to the uppers, so boss didn't believe me at first.
No.
Although amongst the regular employees, your reputation was already in the bin.
What?
If we tell on Miss Akamoto to the boss, who knows what she'll do to us? There were a lot of people working under this fear and stress.
I was doing it for the company.
I can understand where you're coming from. However, your remarks and your attitude when my daughter was in an accident and rushed to the hospital were truly unbelievable by any standards.
Because women with children are always so...
Ever since I lost my husband, I've raised my daughter all by myself. I may have had help from my parents, but she's growing up to be an honest and sincerely amazing kid.
Ah!
On top of that, not only are you discriminatory in your words, you also physically sexually harass the male employees.
How do you know about that?
All it took was a small investigation, and it was obvious.
No, that's not it. I just wanted to deepen the relationship with my team, and...
According to the manager, the damages you've caused are enormous.
You're wrong. It's all a misunderstanding.
So not only have you pissed off some of our biggest clients and made a bad image externally, internally, your troublesome behavior has started to surface. Even the boss can't turn a blind eye to that.
Anyway, that's not important. I need you to do something about the rookie business.
Psh, no thank you. I can't anyway. I don't want to get sued by the company for leaking information after my resignation.
I can't be fired.
Now would you mind if I hang up? I need to go to the lawyer's office now. I have a lot to handle with suing the person who hurt my daughter and collecting fees from them.
Wait! But your orders from your boss should be your priority.
You're the one that's misunderstanding, you idiot! You're no longer my boss. You're nothing to me. My daughter's life was always and will always be my #1 priority. Don't ever try to contact me again. Goodbye.
What? Mrs. Tomita! Mrs. Tomita! Please! Anyone help me!
The man who drove his car into a line of children crossing the road was arrested, and it became national news as well. Luckily, no one was killed in the accident, which was the first point of relief. On top of that, it was discovered that he was drunk driving after finishing a late-night shift. This secured his place in prison, as the charges against him were doubled. On the other hand, Miss Akamoto was taken into the boss's office and given quite the earful, before being laid off from the company based on multiple employee complaints. As for her reason for going after the male employees, I was lonely after being left by my partner and I wanted to get married as soon as possible. It was a pathetic attempt at an excuse. The person in charge at Rookie Business was also a handsome guy that was just her type, and I heard she was trying to also force herself onto him too. The company reputation didn't plunder immediately, but that was all thanks to Mr. Shibusawa and the rest of the team's effort, and they were somehow able to maintain the business. I have no clue where or what Miss Akamoto is doing these days, but I did hear rumors that she got blacklisted for her behavior at single parties, or that she's been seen going into suspicious places to find some sort of happiness in her life, although I couldn't care less. As for me...
Mommy, these meatballs are delicious!
That's because you helped me make them round and perfect.
I'm amazing, right? Ahem!
Yes, you are. Well done.
Mr. Naoshi, come eat some with us.
Thanks, Haruka.
Mr. Shibusawa, I'm sorry to invite you when you're so busy.
No. If anything, I was really happy that you invited me.
If you mean that, I'm glad then.
There was a time when I was really worried what was going to happen, but I'm so glad to see Haruka doing so well now.
The physical therapy was really tough on her, but I think she'll be able to go to elementary school without too much worry now.
Hey,
Yes?
it's been a few months now since we started dating, right? I'd like it if you called me by my first name already.
I'm sorry. It's just that you're older than me, and since we used to work together, it's just a habit and...
Take your time, whenever you're ready.
Yes.
Plus, eventually I'm going to become a family, and I'll be Haruka's new father.
Mr. Naoshi.
I'll never try to take the place of your late husband, or get in the way of your relationship with Haruka, but I sincerely want to protect the two of you, and to support you both in whatever way I can.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Mommy, what's wrong?
I'm fine. I think I just got something in my eye.
Let's all race over there. Ready, set, go!
Be careful, Haruka! You're going to fall if you don't look at where you're running, not me. Come catch up to us, alright?
You two are already like family. I had started a new job at a different company in the same industry, and Mr. Naoshi proposed to me around the same time. I later found out that he had fallen in love at first sight when I first entered the company, and that he had been waiting all this time to ask me out. He was always supporting my single motherhood, and every day I am so grateful to him. From now on, I'm going to keep working hard so that Naoshi, Haruka, and I can all live happily ever after as a family of 3.
My name is Masato Sato. I'm 25 years old and working as a freelance writer. This time I'd like to share the story of my troubles involving a classmate from school. I'll have to go back a few years to when we were in high school. At the time, I was the captain of the soccer club, and it's embarrassing to say it myself, but I kind of stood out. I was getting a lot of attention from the people around me because of how strong the soccer had gotten once I became captain in my 3rd year. We won all the local practice matches and won local competitions, and before I knew it, I became famous in school as the captain of the soccer club. I felt like I was living the ideal school life. However, there was one person that didn't like that I was in the spotlight. They haven't even gone to nationals yet. What's the point in getting so excited when we don't even know if they'll make it through the first match? It's embarrassing just watching you all gush over him when he hasn't achieved anything yet. I hate to point fingers, but the guy that's making a hobby out of insulting me is my classmate, Kazuhiko Tahara. He's part of the tennis club, and his family is famous for being rich. We were in different classes in the 10th and 11th grade, and apparently, he had been the center of attention until the 3rd year because of his stories about his lifestyle and the places he would go when he went on holiday with his family. However, once I became popular because of my efforts in the soccer club, I ended up becoming the center of attention. He must have felt that I had stolen his popularity, because he didn't waste any time in taking his frustration out on me. Even though it wasn't my intention to become popular, Tahara did his best to ruin my image by badmouthing me and calling me an attention seeker to anyone who would listen. Just 2 months into the new school year, I was forced to face the biggest challenge of my life so far. It came all of a sudden when I was in the middle of class. I was in the classroom taking lessons as usual when my homeroom teacher came to call me to the principal's office. I could tell by the expression on his face that something bad had happened. But when we finally reached the office and we had some privacy, my teacher took a deep breath before telling me to listen to him very carefully. What? My dad? I was shocked by the news. It didn't seem real at all. I had only just seen my dad that morning. Because it was an emergency, my teacher took me to the hospital with his own car. I didn't have time to wait for my mom to come and collect me. Dad, please be okay. I'm begging you. My prayers were unheard. He had suffered too many internal injuries, and he died before I arrived at the hospital. That's when I realized that I was too late, that my dad was gone. Dad, you can't leave us. My mother couldn't handle the sudden loss. And not only that, it was as though something was weighing on her mind. I had no idea what needed to be done. That's why I called my mom's brother, my uncle, to ask him to prepare the funeral on our behalf. He dealt with the proceedings swiftly and carefully, and I was glad that we were able to rely on him. He stayed even after the funeral was over to watch over my mom, and there was a reason why she had been so distant since my dad died. It turned out that there was something she had to tell me. What? Dad was in debt? Since when? Apparently, my dad had been hiding a $50,000 debt from us. My mom told me how dad had been a gambling addict for years, and that before they got married, she had gotten him to sign a contract promising that he would never gamble again if he was serious about proposing. His problem was so bad that he had to sign it in front of both his and her families, and part of the contract stated that he wouldn't be allowed direct access to their bank account. Unfortunately for us, he had been borrowing money without telling my mom and was using it all on gambling. Even though we were his family, none of us knew what he was up to. We only knew him as a loving, caring father. According to the lawyer that was in charge of advising us about the inheritance, we could avoid taking on my dad's debt if we gave up all the rights to inherit everything that was left in his name. However, that would also mean that we would lose the rights to the other things that dad had left to us. If we disclaimed the inheritance, we would be forced out of our own home. Not only that, we wouldn't be allowed to have access to the life insurance and savings that were in my dad's bank account. When the lawyer calculated how much should be available to us once we had access, he told us there should be $35,000. My mom struggled with the decision, but in the end, it would be more stress and more tiring to try and find a new house to live in. She made up her mind that she would use the $35,000 to pay off part of the debt that my dad had left, and find a way to pay back the remaining $15,000 by herself. She had decided that it would be more cost-effective to inherit what was left to us, including the debt, so that we wouldn't have to worry about being kicked out. However, because of the size of my dad's debt, we were forced to let go of all the savings we had. In the beginning, my mom was working day and night by herself, working as many part-time jobs as she possibly could. But of course, there was a limit to how much her body could take. Club activities were costly, and I would need money for my cleats, my uniform, even money for the transport we would take to go to practice games with other schools. But I decided that I had to relieve some of the financial pressure that was piling up on my mom. I resigned from the club just weeks before the big match. Instead of going to club activities, I went straight home to watch my younger siblings, and went to a part-time job when there wasn't any school. In just a few weeks, my lifestyle had completely changed. I was no longer a carefree high school student. I knew how much my mom had sacrificed for us because of something she had no control over, and she cried that I was supposed to become a professional football player. But if I'm being honest, I doubt I would have continued playing soccer after graduating from high school. I did enjoy it, and I was proud to be part of the team, but I wasn't thinking about it that seriously. I did feel that it was a shame that I couldn't take my team to nationals. Even so, I would never blame my mom for the situation we were in. She was doing her best to make the most out of a near hopeless situation. Plus, I agreed that keeping this house was the best way forward, for all of us. It was traumatic enough for my little brother and sister that our dad was gone. It would be too overwhelming for them if we had to leave the house we'd been living in since we were born to move to a cramped apartment. From that moment on, I would have to be a dad to them, and I was resolved to help and protect my family no matter what. Then one day, out of the blue, I got a message from Tahara. Hey, why did you suddenly decide to leave the soccer club? I was really surprised when I found out. I thought you were looking forward to going to nationals. Well, a lot of stuff happened, and I thought it would be best if I didn't go anymore. What do you mean stuff happened? Why does it even matter? It's already happened. Just tell me. I might not be able to help, but I've actually been pretty worried about you, you know? Seriously? You've been worried about me? Yeah, I guess it might be a surprise for you, but I actually have a lot of respect for you. Yeah, I'm really surprised. I thought you hated me. A lot's happened between us, but I shouldn't have taken it that far. I was just jealous because you had gotten so popular. Yeah, it's okay. It didn't bother me that much. I'm tougher than I look. You seem like you're having a pretty rough time. At this point, I still hadn't realized how much I had weakened since my dad died. I only noticed that I wasn't my usual self when I found out that I couldn't reply to his question. I didn't have it in me to lie that I was okay. I don't know, but the situation at home is pretty hard right now. What do you mean? What's happening? You probably already know that my dad died because I took some time off of school, but we found out that he was in debt. Whoa, seriously? Yeah, it was a shock to find out that he had been lying to us all this time. We managed to pay back most of it using his life insurance and the savings we had. That's why my mom's been working so hard ever since. That really does sound rough. Your mom seems really strong too. But why does that mean that you have to leave the club? Yeah, she wanted to let me continue in the soccer club too. But my little brother and sister are still small, and we can't afford to hire a babysitter, so there's no one else to rely on. I've got to take care of them. Yeah, I guess there's nothing else you can do. There's no point complaining or moaning about it. I don't want to make it anybody's fault, so I'm just going to do my best. Alright, if you're sure, do your best, Sato. Thanks, Tahara. Thanks for asking if I'm okay. Don't worry about it. If you ever want to talk again, just message me. Like that, I ended up telling Tahara the truth about what was going on at home, and I had shared a lot more than I meant to. I knew that he wasn't the nicest guy, but because I was so exhausted, I didn't think to doubt his motives. A while after I had that conversation with Tahara, I could tell that something was different about the way people were talking to me and acting around me at school. Apparently his family's been in debt since his dad died.
Oh no, poor him. I heard that his mom's been working as a prostitute on the streets.
Seriously? That kind of turns me on. As you can see, my classmates were all gossiping about rumors they had heard about my family. Everyone already knew that my dad had died, and it was true that we were in debt. But the things they were saying about my mom weren't true at all. By the end of the week, the rumors had been exaggerated further, and apparently my mom was working in a strip club and had become the mistress of a mafia boss she had met there. It's not like I was particular about being the leader of the class, but it was unsettling to see how quickly people's attitudes had changed towards me. Apparently Sato has been hanging out with the delinquents since his dad died. He's been spending nights out on the streets causing trouble. I guess he's decided to blame the world for his own problems and is taking it out on everyone around him. Tahara was spreading rumors like this. I wasn't surprised. When I heard the rumors about my mom, I guessed that it must have been him behind all of this. I wasn't adult enough to just ignore what he was doing. With every rumor he spread, I was getting more and more frustrated. You've got to be kidding me! I've had enough! You're a real ass, you know that? Hey, calm down! Stop! Don't hurt me! No! After weeks of being laughed at and talked about behind my back, I couldn't handle it anymore. My emotions had hit a boiling point. After that, I was completely ostracized by my classmates, and it seems that everyone thought that I was a dangerous person who would use aggression as a way to deal with my problems. I started the year off confident and positive about my school life, and without any worries. By the end of it, I was alone and had no one to open up to. After graduating from high school, I started working in a small publishing company. But as a result of working and saving as much money for my salary as I could, my mom and I were able to put our strength together in paying back the debt we owed. During the day, I would go to work, and in the evenings, I would go to college to study. It was tough, but it wasn't as mentally straining as the time I spent alone at school. Once I graduated from college, I changed jobs and became an editor in a major publication company where my favorite author was contracted. I spent 2 years working there, and once I had gained enough experience, I started working freelance as a writer. My mother's much more energetic now that she doesn't have to work several jobs, and my little brother and sister are grown up and starting to think about their own futures. Other than my career, I'm glad to say that I'm a very lucky man in my personal life too.
Masato, sorry I made you wait.
Don't worry, I haven't been waiting that long. How about you, Mikiko? What do you want to eat for dinner?
I feel like eating Italian today.
I think that sounds great. Let's go. This is my girlfriend, Mikiko. She's 4 years older than me, And she's beautiful, funny, and smart. She's a cool beauty, so some men might find it daunting to call out to her. But underneath her calm, cool exterior, she's a really kind, caring woman. She's the leading type, and ever since we started dating, I've always been pulled along by her joie de vivre.
Let's get married.
Yeah, of course. I'd be happy to. But I never imagined that she would even take the lead when it came to our proposal. I'm still amazed by how proactive and confident she is, and I love her for it. Once it was decided that we would get married, we got started on planning a wedding straight away. Mikiko wanted to have a small ceremony, so we only invited a few friends and family. When we came back from our honeymoon, we decided to take our first big step as husband and wife and talked about buying a new home. There was a new apartment building that had recently been completed near her office, and we put our hopes on buying the penthouse apartment.
I'm sorry I can't go with you. I was really looking forward to it, but I've gotta go to this meeting.
Don't worry about it. I understand that it's urgent. So it wound up being just me going to see the open room. Thank you for coming all this way to view our model room. Huh? Wait a minute. You're Tahara, right? Hey, it's Sato! I can't believe it! What are you doing here? Thanks to all of the good things that had happened in my life, I had finally begun to forget about the events of my third year in high school. But after all these years, I was face to face with Tahara. He was working in the real estate company that was running the apartment building and was in charge of giving tours of the model room. Well, that was a surprise. I never expected to have a reunion in a place like that. The world really is a small place, huh? Yeah, I was surprised too. I didn't know that you were working in real estate. My dad owns MoniRobo homes. He's made me work all sorts of positions to get to know how the company works. Oh yeah, now you say it. I remember hearing that when we were in school. Yeah, one day it's going to be my company. What do you think? Good for you. I hope you can fill your dad's shoes. Oh, come on, don't be so harsh. You shouldn't hold grudges for so long, you know? It's not good for you. Plus, we were just kids. It's not like I was serious. I guess it's easy for you to downplay the things you did to me. Anyway, I'm not interested in talking about what happened back then. There's a bigger problem we have to deal with right now. You know, I was there to view the apartment because I had plans to buy it. I think you could have been decent enough to at least try and pretend you cared about selling it. That's hilarious! Remind me what your current profession is. I'm working freelance as a writer. Do you really think that a guy like you can buy an apartment like that? Trust me, you don't have a stable income, and you've got debt too. Can't you tell that this building is meant for people who actually have money? My wife's working full-time as an office worker, so we were planning to buy the apartment in her name. What? You're married? Good for you. But are you sure you want to let her get ahead of herself like that? A guy should be able to buy his own house. Plus, any woman that's willing to marry someone like you definitely isn't good enough to live in a place like this. You've got a lot of nerve saying all that about my wife. You've never even met her. I don't have to meet her. I already know enough about you to tell me what kind of person she must be. I'm being generous and giving you honest advice. You should take it. Out of our league? You'll regret saying all of that. What? Are you going to do something? There's nothing you can do. I'm the son of the CEO. I'm next in line to take over. You can dream all you like, but you should take a good look at reality before you try and actually reach for it. Once Tahara realized that I was the one that had come to take a look at the model room, he completely changed his attitude. I know you can't buy it. What's the point of me wasting my time showing it to you? Just because it's free to view doesn't mean that you can come waltzing in whenever you want. I came here because I was interested in the apartment. Go ahead and take a look. I'm not going to stop you from walking around, but don't expect me to follow you around and smile at stuff. I say that for people who deserve it. People with money. You can leave when you're done. I'm going to sit back and relax. Once he was done insulting me, he actually did put up his feet and started relaxing on the sofa. It was obvious that he really hadn't matured since high school, and I left the apartment furious. Most of my impression was ruined by Tahara and his smug face. Then, after I ended the conversation with Tahara, I got another message, this time from Mikiko, who was still at work.
Hey, I'm sorry about this morning. How was the apartment?
Yeah, it looked okay, I think. I didn't actually get the chance to look at it properly.
What happened?
The guy that was in charge of showing me around was a guy I knew in high school. Do you remember me telling you about a classmate called Kazuhiko Tahara?
Oh, the asshole that spread all those rumors about you and your mom? What did he say to you?
He hasn't changed at all since high school. He didn't even treat me like a customer. He refused to show me around.
Honey, don't let it get to you. But hang on, I thought that Usagi was supposed to be in charge of showing us around. What happened to him?
Oh yeah, you were saying that someone you know from MoniRobo Homes was going to be there to meet us.
Yeah, why did he get changed to Tahara?
Plus, even if he's a horrible guy, there's no way Tahara would have acted like that if he knew who we were. He's already risked a lot by not showing me the apartment properly.
There must have been some misunderstanding at MoniRobo Homes or something. Or he really doesn't care about checking important memos at work.
He was saying that he was put in charge of being room guide for a few weeks.
I want to meet him myself. If he makes any comments like he did to you today, well, it looks like I've got to teach him some manners and show him the seriousness of what he's done.
Mikiko, let's settle this peacefully.
Don't worry, I won't punch him or anything. I'm kidding. I'll do my best not to. I promise.
The next day, my wife and I went to the model room viewing without making an appointment, and found Tahara sitting on the sofa, relaxing. When he saw who had arrived, he glared at me before shouting, "What are you doing here? I thought I told you that this place is out of your league! Are you so poor that you don't even understand something as simple as making a reservation?" His behavior was just as shameless as it was the previous day, and it looked like he really didn't care about treating us with an ounce of respect. He saw Mikiko and let out a wolf whistle. "Is this your wife? She's prettier than I imagined she would be, but she looks like she's got something stuck up her ass. She's definitely not my type. I like my girls loose. Do you like the strict teacher look?" Unbelievably, he started to make offensive jokes about Mikiko, and I couldn't hold back the anger that boiled up inside me. "Hey, is this how you treat every woman you meet? Apologize right now!" "What? Are you going to punch me again? Like you did in high school? I'd stop if I were you. It's not going to get cleared up as boys being boys like it was then. You're lucky I didn't make more of a fuss back then. But if you punch me now, I'll call the police. And you won't like that, will you? You'll be poor, in debt, and in jail." Tahara was still laughing about how he would get his revenge, and I couldn't help but think that maybe a night or two in jail would still be worth the pleasure of knocking him and his stupid grin into the floor. "I'm so sorry I made you wait. Thank you for coming to view our model room today. We're honored to have you here. I'm really sorry I couldn't be here sooner." Huh?
It's okay. We're the ones that suddenly called and said that we would be coming to take a look without any notice. We were just talking with your son.
No, it's really no problem. I'm glad that I can be of service to you, Mrs. Sato. Huh? Dad? Who the hell is this woman? The man that's kowtowing and fussing over my wife is Yoshihiko Tahara. He's Kazuhiko's dad, and is the owner of MoniRobo Homes. The reason why he's acting like this towards Mikiko is actually because she's a pretty big deal.
Oh, I suppose your son didn't know who he was talking to. My dad is the chief shareholder of MoniRobo Homes.
What? You're kidding! Mikiko's dad, my father-in-law, is actually the owner of another major business, and is a famous investor in their world. Mikiko is actually next to take over the business when her dad retires, which is why Tahara's dad is doing everything he possibly can to keep Mikiko happy. I'm sure that Mikiko and her dad wouldn't be so ruthless, but considering the authority many shareholders have in companies, I can understand that Tahara's dad would be cautious about angering them. For example, he had originally planned to put a veteran employee in charge of showing us around the apartment, but unfortunately for us, we were stuck with my old classmate. For any other company owner, sending out their son or daughter to greet their most important customer may have seemed like a safe choice, maybe even the best choice. However, even Mr. Tahara must have realized that he couldn't trust his own son with handling such a delicate situation. Hence why he wasted no time in coming down here himself. This is my son, Kazuhiko. I hope that he hasn't been rude to you, has he? Unfortunately, he's still very new to the company, and he still doesn't understand anything about what it means to do an honest day's work.
Mr. Tahara, I have nothing but complaints about your son's behavior. He's been insulting me and my husband since we entered the room, and even told us to get out. Is that right, honey?
Yes, I'm afraid so. I came here by myself yesterday because my wife was busy with work, and your son wouldn't even show me around the room, assuming that I didn't have enough money to buy the place. He told me that I was too poor and didn't belong here, and I was just amazed by the variety of insults he had for me. We shared all the details of what Tahara had said to us with his dad, and we watched as Mr. Tahara went pale. But even more pale was his son. He attempted to talk, seemingly to make excuses for what he had done, but nothing would come out. and he could only wave his arms and shake his head. I'm very sorry. I don't know how I can ever ask for your forgiveness, but I'm begging you, please, give us a second chance. I'm sorry for speaking to you both like that. Tahara was forced to get down on his knees alongside his dad, and in a strangled voice, he apologized to us over and over. Please, would you give my company another chance? I would love to show you this beautiful room myself, if you're still willing to take a look.
Should we take a look before we leave?
It's your name we're buying it in. I'm happy with whatever you decide.
Alright, then let's look around. It's a shame to have come this far and not look at it.
Thank you! Thank you so much! I'm so grateful for your generosity! And so, we were able to enjoy a thorough and courteous tour of the apartment thanks to the CEO, and informed Mr. Tahara that we would buy it. I'm really glad that we chose to buy this apartment. I feel like it's a great motivation to work, especially since my study is double the size of the previous house.
I'm glad you love it just as much as I do. Oh, did I tell you that I bumped into the owner of MoniRobo Homes the other day?
No, you haven't told me yet. What did he say when he saw you?
He told me about his son, about how he's been suffering the consequences of everything he did.
Mikiko had heard from the CEO that after we left the model room, Tahara's dad had erupted in anger. Go out and get your own job! In order to make his son more humble, Mr. Tahara had fired him from the position Kazuhiko had automatically gained because of his connection to the CEO. However, because he had been promised a job at his dad's company before he even left high school, Tahara had never experienced the stress of job interviews and finding employment before. As a result of being too reliant on his father's power, Tahara couldn't handle the pressure of the real world and ended up becoming a shut-in. Mr. Tahara had no mercy for his son and had apparently forced him out with just a suitcase filled with the bare minimum. With no job, no shelter, and no money to his name, Tahara had no choice but to survive the elements alone. Seriously? He's been kicked out? Without any money? Is he okay?
According to his dad, he was spending all of the money he earned on drinks at hostess clubs. Mr. Tahara was saying that a drastic change in lifestyle like this is the only way to cure his condescending view that people that don't have as much money as him are inferior.
I wish they would have started trying to treat that attitude of his a bit sooner, like when we were in high school.
But I've already notified my dad of what happened, and Mr. Tahara should know that he won't get another chance if his son messes up again. So I'm sure that he'll be keeping an eye on his son.
Then I guess it's okay. I hope he comes back a better man. Like that, I was able to put away the bitter memories I had from high school and began a new chapter in my life with Mikiko. But on my way home from doing the grocery shopping the other day, I noticed that someone was watching me from afar. A man sat on the sidewalk, and his clothes were battered and torn. I knew his face, and I recognized his eyes. He'll just have to wait for the next good Samaritan to help him. Just like Mikiko said, I shouldn't waste my time being so upset with him. Especially not when I'm so happily married to a wonderful wife. Hey! Stop moping around and pay up! Please! Please, just one more day! Please, can you wait just one more day? I'm gonna say this one time, and one time only. Little rats like you that have to borrow money from crap organizations like mine, I can't stand the sight of you. My name is Takayuki Ayukawa. I'm 23 years old, and I work as a collector for the black market. Probably don't even need to clarify this, but I'm making my living in an illegal, underground world. For those of you who live in the regular world, you may think this has nothing to do with you, but the under and above ground still share the same grounds. Everybody is living within arm's reach of a connection to the underground world. Although, my life has always been detached from the regular world. Ever since I was young. My life has been trash ever since I was a little kid. First of all, my parents got a divorce when I was 5 years old. The reason for that was my father was having an affair. At that time, not only did he run away with that woman, he also took all of the money with him. That forced my mother into becoming a penniless, single mom. Second of all, to make matters worse, my father had been borrowing money from pretty bad places, so we often had various debt collectors banging on our door. My mom didn't handle it too well, and she was drowning herself in alcohol every day and fell into deep alcoholism. When I was old enough to realize, she had started working in nightlife, and I was pretty much always left home alone. At the very least, There was always a $10 bill left on the table every day. Other than that, though, my mom did nothing and didn't take care of me or anything around the house. I had only just started elementary school, and of course I had no idea how to do laundry. I was going to school every day in the exact same clothes that hadn't been washed, so the teacher must have realized that something was suspicious, and she had notified child services. My mom tried to insist that she wasn't abusing me, but she hadn't been feeding me properly, wasn't doing the laundry, wasn't bathing me, had never taught me how to brush my teeth, and I was a completely scrawny, malnourished little kid. No matter which way you looked at it, I was very clearly a case of neglect and abuse. And this way, I was taken in by child services and spent my elementary school days in their care. You might hope that someone who grew up in such uncomfortable circumstances would develop into a proud adult after being in the care of facilities and strangers. But that only happens in the movies. Before I even became a teenager, I had already started getting involved with the wrong people and doing troublesome things. I didn't go to high school, and I became a real criminal. I escaped from the foster care system, and in order to survive, I would target empty houses or unattended cars to find anything that could be worth some money, and somehow made enough to get by. That was my daily life until I was about 20 years old. It almost makes me laugh how terrible I was. However, those days didn't last for long, because one day I was swiftly arrested by the police and spent 2 years behind bars. I mean, I can't say I didn't have it coming. If anything, I was surprised that I had gotten away with it for as long as I did. I didn't have an education, I didn't have a job, and I didn't have any real friends. Even when I got out, I didn't see any way to live an honest life, but at the same time, I didn't want to live off of just stealing all the time. I walked to a random park and laid down on a bench, hoping to just die on the spot. That was when my life changed. Yo, you're going to die trying to sleep outside like this in the middle of the winter. A man I had never seen before started speaking to me. Ha! Perfect! I think I'll stay right here then. You're not actually trying to die, are you? What does it matter? If you want to be a savior, then go do it elsewhere. Well, in that case, why don't you give me your life? Huh? I was just looking for a hard-working young man in his prime like you. I bet you've had a pretty tough life up until now, haven't you? It's not like it's going to get much better or worse than this. So at least come and hear me out. I had never met this man before, and he was already pretty impolite. But he wasn't wrong, and for some reason, he interested me. I had nowhere else to go anyway, so I decided to follow him. Boss! Nice to see you! Yo! This is a newbie who's going to be looking after things starting today. Your name is... Takayuki. Takayuki Ayukawa. Takayuki, eh? Well, I'm Samejima. Here, take a seat. I sat down and listened to this man who called himself Samejima, and it turned out he was trying to recruit me for his company. However, that company was actually a black market debt collecting agency. Well, that explains why he can only try to recruit people like me. Even then, even if it's not exactly an honest job or good work, for someone like me, who had only ever made a living through criminal activity, it seemed like a better plan than anything I had. So I decided to put dying on the shelf for now, and gave this so-called job a shot. When I started working, the job actually seemed to suit me, and I was able to show strong results pretty early on. Hey! Stop moping around and pay up! Please! Please, just one more day! Please, can you just wait one more day? I'm gonna say this one time and one time only. Little rats like you that have to borrow money from crap organizations like mine, I can't stand the sight of you. Well, in my case, maybe they all reminded me of my scumbag father, who had messed up my mom's life and my life, and perhaps I was able to channel that resentment into my work. Mr. Samejima seemed to have taken a liking to me too. He was always complimenting me and taking me out for meals, even giving me an allowance. This might sound strange, but working in the black market, for the first time in my life, I felt what others would call a purpose in life. Then one day, the boss came to me with this job. Yo, how's it going? Not bad, sir. No need to be so humble. It looks like you've been on a roll these days. It's all thanks to your direction, boss. What a cute thing for you to say. Since you've been doing so well lately, I've brought a pretty good offer for you today. Ooh! Is it something to do with a salary or a bonus? Nice try. Of course it's not. I know. I figured it was worth a shot. I was going to give you an opportunity to really make a name for yourself. There's a client named Nagara. He's late on his payment, and we haven't heard a word from him, so I want you to take care of it. Oh, it's just another job. I'd love to accept it, but my hands are pretty full with all of our other clients right now. Don't worry about those. I've already asked some of the others to take over the clients you were in charge of. For the time being, I want you to focus on Nagara's case. Is he that juicy of a client? He's been drowning in gambling and owes us about $10,000 at this point. That's a pretty standard case, isn't it? It's not that high of an amount either. Is it really worth going through the trouble of handing off all of my clients just for this one? Stop asking questions and just go. This is a direct order from your boss. I guess this is the first time that the boss is insisting that I take a job. Roger that, sir. By the way, what's the family structure? Looks like he's got a young wife and one daughter. They're a family of 3 living in a sad, rusty apartment. I'm really not seeing one thing out of the ordinary here. Although, it is my first time dealing with someone with a kid, right? So I thought it would be a good experience for you. Oh, come on, that sounds like a silly reason. But anyway, I understand. I'll get right to it. Good. Thanks. And that was the request. It was a common type of customer in this industry. A lot of the time, people assume that black market debt collectors go after good people and exploit them for their money. But in reality, it's a little bit different. The exploitation part may be true, but most of our customers are also scum who are unworthy of any sympathy. The majority of them drain their money into gambling, alcohol, and drugs, and because they can no longer go to proper consumer financing solutions, they end up coming to the black market as a last resort. That was exactly what my father had done. That's why I didn't have an ounce of sympathy or mercy towards the customers, even before I approached them. This time was the same, and I had every intention of going in with no mercy. But when I arrived at this guy named Nagara's broken down apartment... Hey, Mr. Nagara! Would you mind coming out here for a moment? You're well past your due date for your payments. I could hear footsteps inside, so I knew he was there. However, the person who opened the door was so beyond my expectations that my stomach sank for a moment.
My dad and my mom both aren't here right now.
Standing there was a terribly skinny young girl, probably not even in elementary school yet. It was the middle of the day on a weekday, and yet this little girl was home alone. Her clothes were stained and dirty, and I could tell that she was shaking. I knew immediately that she must have been so scared of having to deal with a collector by herself. This scene was all too familiar to me. This wasn't the same customer that I had dealt with before. My mind quickly flashed back to my days spent in fear of the collectors who were after my scumbag father. She was me. Little girl, what's your name?
My name is Saori.
Saori? When will your daddy and mommy be home?
I don't know, sir.
I see. Well then, see you later. Instead of doing anything further, I retreated and headed back. So, that's why you left without getting anything? I'm sorry. Even if the parents are worthless pieces of crap, it's not the kids' fault. So I got carried away. Well, I guess you do like kids after all. Not necessarily. It's not like that. Is that so? The other day, when we had that barbecue, you spent the whole time playing with Kimura's little kid. That was because he kept coming over to me. I didn't have a choice. A black market debt collector who's popular with the kids. How funny. Come on, sir, cut it out! My bad. But you're right. I realize that I have a hard time coming on strongly when I see a child. I think you'll be better off giving this case to somebody else. No can do. Sorry. But to be honest, I'm not confident I can do this one. Hey now. Since when did you get to a position where you get to pick and choose your jobs? Oh no, sir. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. It's just that the right person in the right place, and I don't think I'm the right person for this job. Well, that certainly isn't for you to decide, is it? I placed this responsibility onto you. Now go make me proud. Can I ask why you're insisting that I do this job? What did you say? Are you telling me that you're going to retreat just because you can't stand up to a little kid? If that's the case, it's no wonder Nagara doesn't take us seriously. That's true. I don't want that happening. It's over for our business if even one customer doesn't take us seriously. You know that, right? Yes, sir. I'm very sorry. I will figure it out and do my best. That's the spirit. Due to the boss's firm hand, I was stuck being in charge of this Nagara guy's case. After that, I went back to that apartment multiple times, but every single time, it was always Saori who answered the door. Even when I looked inside of the house, it didn't look like there were any adults around at all, and it seemed like she had truly been left behind. The more I looked at her, the more skinny and malnourished she looked, and her clothes were beyond rags. I could easily imagine what kind of household this was. Little by little, the more times I would meet her, the more I felt my empathy for her growing inside of me. I couldn't help myself, and with every visit, I started buying her some bread or some sweets from the convenience store on my way to give to Saori.
Thanks. I love this candy. It's my favorite.
Oh, is that so? Well, make sure you savor every bite.
Yeah.
Saori started looking forward to my visits, and she would be happy every time I knocked on the door. The fact that she would be so excited to see a scary guy like me and to accept anything from a stranger just shows how little her parents have been involved. Sheesh. It sounds like such a joke for someone to be so excited to see a debt collector from the black market. Visits like this continued despite how strange they were, until one day, when I arrived as usual at the Nagara house.
Takayuki?
You? Is that you, Mai? What are you doing here?
Because this is my house.
Even though this is Nagara's house? Does that mean that you're Nagara's wife?
Yeah, I guess so.
That's right. The person who arrived was Nagara's wife and my ex-girlfriend, Mai. Her age should be around 23 years old by now. Mai was my girlfriend from when I was about 17 years old, and she was part of the same troublesome circles as me. The reason why we broke up was because she got pregnant. I told her that I would get my life together in order to raise the child, but Mai didn't believe me, and she disappeared shortly after. Wait a second. So does that mean that Saori is... Hold on. Are you telling me that Saori is my daughter?
Yeah.
Whoa! Didn't you take the child and run because you thought I was a good-for-nothing? Then what the hell is this? Back in the day, I couldn't understand it, but I had grown to believe that Mai had made the right decision back then. There was no way that a kid like me was ready or able to raise a decent child, and yet, in the end, she married a piece of crap anyway, and was pretty much abandoning her daughter all the time. That's why I wanted to curse her out, but...
You know nothing about my life. You work for a black market debt collector. Who the hell are you to say anything about how I'm living my life?
Mai shot right back. How do you even know where I work?
Because the only people who come to our house are people like you, black market debt collectors. And I'll have you know that we don't have a penny here. So leave now.
We had fully raised our voices at the point when I looked down and saw Saori peeking out through the crack in the door.
Mommy, you're home. You came back. Shut up. Stay inside like I told you to. I'm sorry.
Hey, you don't need to speak to her like that.
Shut up, shut up, shut up! Now leave me alone! Get out! Go!
Mai had started to throw a fit, and for Saori's sake, I didn't want to add any more fuel to the fire. So I decided to leave the situation for now. Boss, did you know? Know what? That Saori is actually my daughter? Perhaps. How did you know? I've been in this world a very long time, and I have my sources. Is that why you insisted that I take this case? Because you knew that Saori was my daughter? Yep, That's right. Why did you do that? You know there's no way that I could go and threaten a household with my daughter in it? I'm sure you can't. I don't understand, sir. Look, now that you know your daughter's situation, why don't you take this opportunity to take her in and live an honest life for once? But you know there's no way that I could do that. I'm the type of person that doesn't think twice about stealing from or hurting other people. And yet, you haven't done that once since you started working. Well, that's because you gave me a chance, boss. That's not true. With or without me, you wouldn't have been stealing anyway. I found you on the park bench in the middle of the winter ready to die after all. Well, that was... Why did you do that? If you went around stealing again, you could have survived. And even if you got caught again and went back to prison, it should still have been better than death. I was just tired of living, that's all. Why are you beating around the bush here? What is it that you want to do? What's your point? It's just that, to me, I can see it written all over you. That all you want to do is to get out of this world and live an honest life. That's why I thought this would be the best opportunity for you to do that. Do you honestly believe that I can do that? Yes, of course I do. And I think you'll be an even better father than I ever was. There's no denying that you've lived a life of scum up until now, and done some terrible things. But you've taken all of those experiences to work hard like this now. And more than anything, there's a little life over there that needs your help. Don't keep dancing the same dance here. Be a man and go do what needs to be done. I didn't know what to do. I've never had to think this much in my entire life. I had no confidence that I could be a father, but at the same time, I knew that I couldn't leave Saori in that state. I spent about a week locked into my room, going back and forth on what to do. I decided I should meet Saori one more time, and so I headed to Nagara's house. But when I arrived, this time, no one answered the door. I thought that maybe they all ran off as a family in the middle of the night, so I grabbed the doorknob, only to find that the door was unlocked. I hesitated as I cracked the door open, and when I looked inside, Saori! Saori! Wake up! Saori was collapsed on her side. No matter how you looked at it, it didn't look like she was taking a nap. Even in the dark room, I could see how pale she was. I hurried to call an ambulance right away and had her rushed to the hospital. The doctor's analysis was severe malnutrition, to the point where even he was surprised that she hadn't collapsed up until now. She was immediately hospitalized in the pediatric unit. They would be keeping an eye on her for a while and slowly nurse her back to health. I decided to stay next to her until she regained consciousness. That's when I heard Mr. Samejima's voice from behind me. Yo, how's your daughter holding up? About that. Apparently she had severe malnutrition and she'll be hospitalized for a while. I see. I did a little research of my own, and it turns out that Nagara has been on the run for months now. Then what about Mai? I found her workplace and asked them, and it turns out she quit a few days ago too. My guess is that she went to wherever Nagara is hiding. That could only mean one thing. That they had left Saori there, to die. If this is how you're going to treat your own child, you never should have given birth in the first place! Despite being a mother, she was as selfish as ever and unable to leave her past behind. I was so angry, I could barely feel my hands anymore from gripping them so tightly. Until Saori opened her eyes.
What? Hey, mister. What are you doing here? I haven't seen you in a long time. What did you bring for me today?
She was drowsy and confused, but as soon as Saori saw me, she opened her mouth and sounded happy. When I saw that face of hers, I knew in my heart, Saori, starting from today, you're going to live with me.
What? What?
I know that it might be too sudden, and it might be hard for you to understand right now, but...
Really? Are you sure?
Of course! I can't tell you the details yet, but what's most important is that you have nothing to worry about, starting from today. When I said those words, Saori started sobbing, and I held her in my arms for the first time. I felt the warmth of her small body deep in my heart. This was Saori's, my daughter's, warmth. I became a father, and I simultaneously decided that I was going to live and live honestly. Saori was going to be hospitalized for a little while longer. In the meantime, I had one more very heavy job to finish. I had to say farewell to the underground world, and somehow made my way out into the surface. But like I said before, and as you can see, I didn't even go to high school, I'm a convicted criminal, and the only job experience I ever had was as a black market debt collector. It was going to be near impossible for me to find a proper job. But no matter what it was going to take, or how hard it was going to be, I had decided that this is what I had to do for Saori. However, as if he had already read my mind, Mr. Samejima spoke to me. You know, an old friend of mine owns a construction business in town, and you see, he owes me a few favors. So he said he wouldn't mind giving you a job there. What? The pay isn't that high, but everything is legal, and it's a clean factory. Doesn't sound too bad, right? I couldn't believe it, but the biggest hurdle of finding a job was so quickly diminished, just like that! I feel so much better now that I don't have to worry about taking care of a little kid like you anymore. I'll probably never see you again in this life, so all I can say is, good luck. Boss! Don't say that! You idiot. If you stay connected with someone like me, it's only going to be bad for your kid. But this kid is your granddaughter! You better act like a real grandpa and spoil the crap out of her! What? Hey now. That's right, I had figured it out already. Why the boss had taken in a loser piece of scum like me without any conditions? Why after taking me in, he would willingly want me to find a way out? Why he knew so much about who I was and my history in so much detail? It wasn't normal. If I was just another member of the gang, he wouldn't have spent the time or energy on knowing so much about me. Which could only mean... Sheesh. So you had figured me out already. You better not mess this up, you stupid son. Shut up, you piece of crap, Dad! You know I spent my entire life hating you. But by the time I realized it, I couldn't hate you anymore. Not once did I ever think or want you to forgive me for what I've done. All I wanted was for you to live a better life, so that you don't end up like me. And so, I washed my hands and feet of the black market, and moved into a small apartment with Saori to start our new lives together. Saori still calls me Mister. When the time comes for me to tell her the truth, I wonder if she's going to hate me.
I'm so happy when you're around, mister.
Are you sure it's okay? Even though I'm a useless little man?
Because Mommy didn't like me at all. I think she hated me. And that man that was with her, he would hit me all the time, so I was scared of him.
Is that so?
That's why, mister. Thank you for saving me. I love you.
Well, Saori, I love you too. When the day comes for me to tell her the truth, I hope I've become a man worthy of being called Dad by Saori. For what it's worth, as for Mai and Nagara, it wasn't long before Mr. Samejima, as in my dad, had all hands on deck to find their whereabouts. He sent me a photo of the two of them tied up by ropes and rolling around the old office. I smiled before quietly deleting the photo. I didn't want Saori to ever have to see that. I can imagine what happened to the two of them after that, but I'd rather not ask. There are second chances in life if you work hard enough for them. Even for someone like me, who took many wrong steps in life, I was given an opportunity to claw my way onto the right path. I'm living proof of that. However, for Nagara and Mai, it looks like that might not happen for them, at least not anytime soon. Amen to that.